I get it, you are staring at a row of sleek, glass-front beverage centers in the showroom, wondering if any of them will actually fit into your kitchen routine without turning into an expensive paperweight. You don't want to spend money on a unit that looks great on Instagram but ends up taking up space, sipping power, or, worst of all, never keeping your drinks at the temperature you need. So before you click add to cart, let's walk through the real-world experience of the Avallon AWBC242GGFD and see whether it earns its price tag for the kind of hosting, daily sipping, or family setup you have in mind. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, think about how you actually use a beverage center. If you're the type who keeps a handful of craft beers chilled for Friday night gatherings, or you run a small home bar where you rotate wine bottles weekly, the capacity and temperature consistency become the make-or-break factors. The Avallon unit offers a 24-inch wide cabinet with space for 21 bottles and up to 64 cans. That sounds generous on paper, but the real question is, does that layout translate to easy loading and retrieval in a busy kitchen? From what I've gathered, the double pane glass does more than just look elegant. It reduces heat transfer, which means the internal temperature stays steady even when the door is opened a few times during a party. Users who have installed similar double-pane models report that the temperature doesn't swing dramatically when the lights come on. The Avallon's digital controls claim to maintain set temperatures within a narrow range, and the absence of flue in the spec sheet suggests the control system isn't prone to the kind of jitter you sometimes see in cheaper units. In practice, that means you can set your wine at 55°F and trust that a couple of quick door openings won't push it up to 60°F, a detail that matters when you're serving a dinner that's meant to impress. Now, let's talk about the LED lighting. It's subtle enough not to dominate the room, yet bright enough to let you see each bottle or can without fumbling in the dark. In a dimly lit dining area, that soft glow can act as a low-key accent, making the whole kitchen feel more polished. I've seen it in a few modern apartments where the fridge is tucked behind a wall of cabinets. The beverage center becomes a quiet focal point rather than a glaring appliance. Where the Avallon shines most is in its balance between size and footprint. A 24-inch width fits comfortably under most standard countertop overhangs, and the depth is shallow enough that it doesn't eat up valuable floor space. For a small family that wants a dedicated spot for chilled drinks without sacrificing countertop real estate, it's a practical compromise. You can slide it in next to a pantry or even integrate it into an island if you have the space. The door swings open smoothly, and the double pane glass is tempered, so you won't hear that cheap clack that some lower-priced models make. However, there are trade-offs that matter once the unit is actually in your home. The first is the bottle arrangement. While 21 bottles sounds like a lot, the shelves are fixed, so you'll be limited to standard bottle shapes. Tall, slender bottles. Think certain boutique wines can be a tight fit, and you might need to sacrifice a few spots or store those bottles elsewhere. If your collection leans heavily toward larger format bottles, Magnum or Jeroboam, you'll quickly find the space inadequate. On the flip side, the can capacity is impressive. 64 cans can fill a weekend gathering without you having to restock. That makes the unit a solid choice for households that favor soda, craft beer, or pre-mixed cocktails in cans. Another practical point is the cooling system's noise level. Because the unit uses a digital compressor to keep temperatures tight, it does emit a low hum. Most reviewers note that it's comparable to a standard fridge, but if your kitchen is an open-plan space right next to a quiet office or a bedroom, that hum can become noticeable after a few hours. It's not a rattling, disruptive sound, but it isn't silent either. If you're extremely sensitive to background noise, you might want to test the unit in a showroom before committing. Energy consumption is often a hidden cost that buyers overlook. The Avallon's digital controls are designed for efficiency, and the double-pane glass reduces the workload on the compressor. In real-world usage, say you keep the unit running 24/7 for a month, their electricity draw should be comparable to a small refrigerator, not an energy-guzzling appliance. For eco-conscious shoppers, that's a modest win, but it's still worth checking your local utility rates if you plan to run it constantly. So, who should really consider this model? If you host frequent gatherings where you need a reliable source of chilled wine, beer, and soda, and you value a sleek aesthetic that integrates seamlessly into a modern kitchen, the Avallon AWBC242GGFD checks most boxes. It's also a good,